My name is Alison Andrews. I'm a mountain guide, and I work primarily at this point for Canadian Mountain Holidays as a heli ski guide, and in the summer, combination of hiking and on the Via Ferratas that are at the various lodges. For fun, I do just about anything and everything in the mountains, whether it's ski touring, Nordic skiing, biking, hiking, paddle boarding, you name it, I'm up for it. Probably the one thing I do that's a bit different is I do biathlon, which is a combination of cross-country skiing and 22 rifle shooting. And we have a great facility at the Kenmore Nordic Center, and so that's my different sport. My first ACL was over 30 years ago. I tore it heli skiing, and unfortunately that graft failed. So it was done again a year later. And then my other knee, I tore my ACL 12 years ago. And then I tore it this December. And different modes, I suppose, but I think just skiing is hazardous on our ACLs, and just the volume of skiing I do in the deeper snow. Although I don't actually feel like deep snow was an issue in any of them. Just the amount of time on skis, my numbers come up a few times. The first one was a hamstring graft. And at that time, it was very new to be doing hamstring grafts. It was perhaps one of the earlier ones. At the time, patellar was kind of the gold standard. But because I was a skier, the surgeon chose to try hamstring. It failed, we're guessing at about 8 weeks, but it reattached itself. So I did have an ACL in certain joint positions. So there was always an endpoint. So nobody really knew that it didn't work until I went back skiing the following year. The following year, when it was revised, I had patellar tendon. And then for the first time for my other knee, it was done in Banff, and I had a guides special double bundle of my hamstring and a cadaver graft. And the last one done here in January was a solo cadaver graft. The thing that was different about my last surgery, and I feel very, very lucky, is because of the double bundle done before, they thought it might need to be a 2-stage revision with a bone graft filling in the old holes first. And then 3 to 4 months later, the ACL revision, thinking there wasn't enough space to have more holes. But I got super, super lucky. One of the tunnels in my tibia was in a good position for the revision, and there was enough room in my femur to drill a 3rd hole. And so I had it all done in one stage and feel incredibly lucky. This is the first time I've had a straight allograft with no tendon of my own body part, and it's certainly less invasive. And I came back out of this surgery so much more easily than the other ones. And I'd been told that it was that way, but just walking without crutches within about 2 days, no painkillers other than Advil and Tylenol, just maintain my leg strength so much better, so much less swelling. It's lovely in that regard, but I also know that because there's no blood supply to that graft, that it's going to take longer to be strong, and I have to be more careful, more patient going forward. So I think I've had an easier time initially, but I maybe delayed doing some other stuff down the road as a consequence, but that's just the way it is. Having had a few rehabilitations, I would say none of them have really gone that smoothly, which is not I don't know how common or uncommon that is. As I say, the first one, there was a graft failure. From, I think, our point of view, the rehab went pretty smoothly, except that the ACL seemed loose, or the repair seemed loose, but with an endpoint. The second one on that knee also seemed like it was a bit loose, and they were worried that one wasn't going to work. So that was quite nerve-wracking for me. And I was told, no downhill walking, only uphill, just take it real slow. In the end, it is a little bit looser, but it is solid. It's been solid for the last 30 plus years. For my other knee with my hamstring, it mentions it in the rehab protocol for sports medicine that the hamstring scabs down and it can sort of let go and pull apart at about the 6-week mark. And that certainly happened to me. And I think what happens is the piece of tendon just scabs on to the next tendon over, and it went, well, I'm not in the happiest place. I'm going to let go and find a better place, and let go all at once. When, I told my physio and showed her the bruising, she's like, oh, I've seen that once before, but what did you do? And I did nothing. I was lying on my belly on the ground when it happened. And I think maybe if it had had more massage and manipulation right away, it wouldn't have had the chance to scab down. But I did a lot of work trying to break down the scar tissue without much success. I tried Graston. So Graston, massage, high energy ultrasound, everything, trying to break that scar tissue apart, and it is still there. The skin, the fascia, and the tendon are kind of all bound together. So I have to be careful not to give myself tendonitis. For the not getting tendonitis, every year it still gets better, it seems like, but initially I had to be really careful with things like ski touring, breaking trail, where that motion of pulling the ski tip up through the snow would irritate it. So, I would go with someone else that could break trail more perhaps, or I'd have my turn. And when I felt like it was enough, I'd just say, that's it. For the second surgery, where I had a patellar tendon graft, after activity, especially after skiing, it would ache afterwards. The same thing that got better every year. And now I don't feel it at all. But I know that is one of the things that can happen with a patellar graft, but it never stopped me doing anything. And as I say, year by year, it kept getting better until I have no idea now, for the last 10, 15 years, I haven't felt it at all, maybe even longer. Having said that, both my knees work. They work well. They get me in the mountains. I've got full range of motion. I've got good strength. I just have to be nice to them. First of all, is just follow the physio protocols and the physio advice and the surgeon advice to the letter, to the T. Not do anything beyond, or anything I have any doubt of that I should or shouldn't be doing, just not to jeopardize it. There's just so much work and time that goes into the rehab that it's just not worth blowing it by doing something stupid. Like, for an example, going for a hike in rough terrain 3 weeks post-surgery just because your knee feels good. Definitely, maybe you'd get away with it, but I wasn't prepared to risk that. I do like to be active, so I do as much as I can, whether, it's walking, because I like being outside much more than spinning on the bike, but just I have to ramp up bit by bit, day by day, week by week, and to figure out what the joint can handle without getting irritated and inflamed and saying that was too much. Beyond, trying to be outside and enjoy the sun and the views, I've always had some other sedentary interests that would engage me and get me through, especially those first 4, 6, 8 weeks where I'm a lot more sedentary than I'm used to. A couple times I studied German. I went to German lessons. I did French. I still do French. So I did French last time, French this time, and I'm also doing a research volunteer project for Banff Park with a Banff Park historian. So those are the sorts of things that keep me engaged when I can't be up and as active as I'd like to be. As soon as I'm injured, I'm stuck at home. I'm cut off from a lot of my social network in a way, because we would meet at the climbing gym a couple days a week, or I'd be up at the biathlon range, or we'd be going for a Nordic ski together. So it was and is important for me to reach out with friends, and they're good at getting in touch with me and having them come over, for a cup of tea, or meeting someone at a coffee shop for a cup of coffee. Obviously, COVID has made that a bit harder, but hopefully we're through the worst of that, and getting together socially becomes seems less risky and just a good thing to do. So I think, maintaining social connections, texting with friends, phoning them, trying to meet them, and just trying to find ways to connect socially. Maybe join a book club if that's your thing, or a chess club, or anything like that, where not only are you engaged, but you're socially engaged. Probably a few things back then, and with the surgeon I had, he wanted to use a general anesthetic, and the surgeries were longer then. It was a 4-hour surgery, and being under a general for that long, it knocked the stuffing out of me. I was doing naps for probably close to 2 months in the afternoon. And so, today's surgery is much shorter. I have had my last 2 just with a spinal, and physically, I just feel better afterwards. I don't feel so exhausted, so wasted. I think the first one, I didn't know what to expect. I remember when I hurt myself, being in tears, and I was at work, and at work there's lots of orthopedic surgeons, and I go, don't worry, you'll be back skiing next year. I'm like, I don't want to be back skiing next year. I want to ski now, because I was so keen. So for that surgery, I was a lot younger. It was just hard to be patient, or harder to be patient. I think, now more than 30 years later, it's easier. I think the second surgery was hard because I knew exactly what to expect. I knew, how slow the first part of the recovery seems, and how long it takes to get strong again, and for the graft to get strong. This one, you'd think, well, it actually seems easier now. I think partly because I've learned to be more patient, just knowing that this is life, and I have to just dig in and find things that captivate me and engage me, and deal with it. I totally expect to go back to my activities once this one heals and is strong. I'll be careful going into that period where it's strong, but it's not as strong as it'll ever get. But no, I fully expect to be ski touring and hiking, and off trail in the mountains, and doing all the things that I did before. The advice that your doctor and your surgeon will give you is be strong going into it. Do your best to get rid of any swelling, keep your leg strength and your core strength, because it'll help you regain your strength afterwards. As I mentioned earlier, follow the protocols that you're given exactly to the T. Both last 2 times even before, I was told, your meniscus is solid. Don't tear it before surgery. Go classic skiing on the flats. Don't go ski skating. Don't go snow plowing. Don't go downhill skiing. But at least I could get out, and I could classic ski and feel pretty safe. So just following that advice, and not doing more damage before the surgery, not slipping and having a partial tear become a full tear. And then that first week, rest, leg up, ice. Don't try and cook, shop, be a patient, have someone look after you. so that you can get that swelling down. You can have a happy knee sooner than trying to do too much that first week. And after that, same thing, just follow those physio protocols. The exercises are staged to be safe, and they're staged to increase your strength and proprioception and everything in the appropriate manner as you progress. And so it's just so critical to follow all the advice those medical experts give you.